All right, get ready for a deep dive into the world of Kia.
Kia!
Yeah, those super smart and playful New Zealand parrots.
Oh, right, the clowns of the mountains. Heard of them.
Exactly. We've got excerpts from this fascinating book all about them and their intelligence, their playful antics.
Sounds fun.
It is. Trust me, you're going to be amazed by these guys. So first off, let's talk about where these parrots actually live.
Yeah, because you don't really think of parrots in, like, snowy mountains, right?
Right. But Kia are special. They're the world's only alpine parrots, braving those harsh winters in New Zealand's southern Alps.
Wow, that's pretty wild. It's definitely not your typical parrot habitat.
No, it's not. The book describes them as these large, robust birds with olive green backs and these vibrant reddish-orange underwings.
I bet they really stand out against the snow.
Oh, yeah, they do. And their personalities are just as vibrant. The book actually compares Ki to ravens.
Ravens.
Yeah, both are known for being super playful, but they have totally different ways of going about it. Ravens are like cautious, they've got this strict social hierarchy.
Ah, so they're like the rule followers of the bird world.
Something like that. And they're very territorial. Kia, on the other hand, well, they're just bold, curious, and they don't seem to have any fear.
So like total opposites.
Pretty much. There's this funny story in the book about a researcher who showed both species a bike light.
A bike light?
Yeah, like a bright LED one.
Yeah.
The ravens were totally freaked out, but the Kia, they were fascinated.
Huh. So they're drawn to new things.
Exactly. They have this insatiable curiosity. It makes you wonder, though, why evolve that strong desire for new experiences when their environment isn't exactly overflowing with novelty?
Right, because the mountains aren't really known for constant change and new things popping up all the time.
Exactly. One theory is that maybe this curiosity helped them adapt to their unpredictable habitat, like sudden weather changes or finding new food sources.
Makes sense that quick thinking and being able to assess new stuff would be a real advantage up there.
Definitely a survival strategy in disguise. And it seems like it led to some pretty awesome problem-solving skills. The book talks about them using tools, solving puzzles, even learning from each other.
Oh, wow. So they're like the brainiacs of the bird world.
Pretty much. There's this one Kia named Kermit.
Wait, Kermit? Like the frog?
Yep, his name is Kermit, and he's become this legend among researchers. The book describes how they gave him this puzzle box with a treat inside, and he figured out how to use a stick to get it.
Clever bird.
But it's not just that he used a tool. He did it in this really innovative way, like using his beak and his foot together in this super coordinated way.
Wow, that's some next-level problem solving.
Right. The researchers who work with him say that if Kermit can't solve a puzzle, it's probably a problem with the puzzle, not with Kermit.
So they're basically saying he's smarter than the scientists.
Oh, they're definitely giving him some serious credit.
I bet. What about other Ki? Are they all like super geniuses too?
They're definitely smart cookies. The book talks about this experiment where they had to remove a bunch of tubes to get a treat, and it turned out the Ki who watched others solve the puzzle were way faster at figuring it out themselves.
Oh, so they learn by watching each other.
Yep, social learning is a big deal for them. It's like they have their own little Ki school up in the mountains. But speaking of Kia society, the book also dives into their playful behavior.
Because, everyone knows Kias are playful, right?
Totally. But it's not just random fun and games. It plays a huge role in their social dynamics. They do all sorts of things. Object play, aerial acrobatics, even things like wrestling and chasing.
Kia wrestling. I got to see that.
I know, right? And get this, they even have a specific call that they only use when they're playing. It's called a warble.
Interesting. So is it like their version of laughter?
That's what researchers are trying to figure out. And it's pretty fascinating. They played recordings of this warble call in the wild. And you know what happened?
Right.
The Ki started playing more. It's like it's contagious, just like laughter can be for us.
Wow, that's amazing. So maybe it does have a similar social function. Bringing them closer, diffusing tension.
Could be. But, their playful nature doesn't always make everyone happy.
Oh, right. I've heard they can be a bit mischievous.
A bit. More like a lot. The book mentions some issues they've had with sheep farmers.
Because they're eating the sheep.
You got it. Specifically, their rumps, for some reason. And Kia are smart and persistent, so once they figure out how to get something they want, good luck stopping them.
I can imagine that's frustrating for the farmers.
Definitely. But the book actually suggests a really interesting way to manage this, something about targeting the invader Kia.
The innovator. What does that mean?
Well, the idea is that if they can identify the Kia who first figured out how to get at those sheep rumps and remove them, the behavior might not spread to the rest of the flock.
Huh. So stop the trendsetter, stop the trend.
Exactly. It's based on the idea that Kia learn from each other, especially from the ones who are like extra bold and innovative.
That's actually really clever. Speaking of innovation, what about their social structure? The book mentions something about how Kia don't really have a strict hierarchy, which is kind of unusual, right?
Super unusual. And this is where things get really interesting. Kia have a surprisingly long childhood. It can last for years. And during that time, they have this like special status in Kia society.
What do you mean, like they're the bosses?
In a way, yeah. The book talks about how they strut around, even taking food from the adults, and there are no consequences.
Wait, so the youngsters are calling the shots?
Pretty much. And it's a total flip from the strict pecking order you see in a lot of other bird species. The adults just tolerate it.
Wow, that's wild.
I know, right? It's like Kia society has this built-in mechanism for encouraging playfulness and exploration.
That's fascinating. I wonder if it's connected to their intelligence and problem-solving skills, having all that freedom to just mess around and figure stuff out without strict rules.
It's definitely a possibility. It seems like their playful childhood really shapes who they become as adults.
And probably why they're called the clowns of the mountains. But I bet we've only scratched the surface of what makes these birds so cool.
Oh, for sure. We still have a lot more to unpack about their playful warble call, their social lives, and how they manage to thrive in such a tough environment.
I'm ready for more. This is fascinating stuff.
Me too. This is mind-blowing stuff, and we've only just started. Before we move on, I'm super curious to learn more about that warble call and the research they're doing on it.
Oh, yeah. The warble call? That's where things get even more interesting. The book talks about these two researchers, Alex Taylor and Zemina Nelson, who are studying it at this place called the Willowbank Wildlife Reserve.
Okay, so before we get into their research, I got to ask about this one Kia in the book, Kati.
Kati. Yeah.
She's missing her top beak, but she seems to be doing amazing.
Oh, Kati, or Bruce, as she's sometimes called, is a total rock star. Despite that injury, she's thriving. It's actually really inspiring, how resilient these birds can be.
Totally. Okay, back to the warble call. What are Taylor and Nelson looking into specifically?
So they're going deeper than just observing play behavior. They're trying to figure out if the call has, emotional and physiological impacts on the key.
Really? Could it actually be affecting how they feel?
That's what they're thinking. One question they're exploring is whether it functions similarly to human laughter.
Hold up, Kia laughter. Are you serious?
Well, they're not using the word laughter exactly, but the parallels are pretty crazy. Think about it. We know laughter can boost our mood, right? So they're investigating if the warble call might trigger similar responses in key.
Mind blown. But how do you even test that with a parrot?
Right. Well, they're using this really clever experiment called the optimism test.
Wait, an optimism test?
For parents. Yep. They train the key to associate different sized boxes with whether or not there's food inside. Then they introduce a medium-sized box.
So like a mystery box.
Exactly. And they watch how the key reacts. If a key is feeling optimistic, anticipating a treat, they're more likely to check out the ambiguous box, right?
That makes sense. So if they play the warble call and then the key goes for the mystery box, it could mean the call actually made them more optimistic.
That's the idea. It's a way to see if there's a connection between the call, their emotions, and how they think. It's fascinating stuff. And that's just one part of what they're doing. They're also trying to figure out if the warble call can reduce stress, maybe even help with healing and stuff.
Play sounds as medicine. That's wild. But how do they even measure stress in a Kia?
It's tricky, but they use a combination of things. Like they'll analyze their cortisol levels, that's a hormone that shows stress, and they look for changes in behavior, like aggression or withdrawal.
Makes sense. So it's not just about saying Kia are playful, it's about digging into the why and the how of their behavior.
Yeah, this research could totally change how we see Kia and maybe even other intelligent animals. And if they can prove that the warble call has these positive effects, it could be a big deal for conservation efforts too.
That's a good point. Speaking of which, Kia are considered endangered, right? What are the biggest threats they're facing?
Habitat loss is a big one, obviously. And then there are the dangers from interacting with humans. The book talks about this spot, the Homer Tunnel, where Kia have been messing with traffic cones and getting way too close to cars.
I can see how their curiosity could get them into trouble, especially around humans.
For sure. They've learned that people, especially tourists, can mean food, or interesting things to play with.
But that can be dangerous. It's kind of sad how our actions can mess with their natural behavior.
It definitely highlights the need for more creative solutions to keep them safe. And the book actually talks about one really cool idea, the Kia Jungle Gym.
Kia Jungle Gym, what's that?
So the idea is to create these designated play areas near where Kia hang out. They'd be filled with all sorts of toys, puzzles, things to keep them engaged.
Like a giant bird playground.
Basically, by giving them this constant stream of novelty and challenges in a safe spot, it might reduce their urge to mess with cars or tourists.
That's awesome. I love that they're thinking outside the box.
Right. They even want to get the public involved in designing and building parts of the jungle gym. Citizen science in action.
I love that. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to the whole no hierarchy thing. How do they keep things running smoothly without a pecking order?
It's pretty amazing, actually. It seems like they found a totally different way to deal with social stuff. And it all comes back to their playful nature.
So instead of fighting for dominance, they play their way to harmony.
Yeah, exactly. The book suggests that play is like this social facilitator for them. It helps them work through conflict, build tolerance, and maintain this more egalitarian society.
That's so cool. It really challenges our human ideas about how social structures have to work.
Right. We tend to think hierarchies are inevitable, but Kia are showing us there are other ways to do things.
I'm starting to think we humans could learn a thing or two from them. Maybe a little less focus on who's in charge and a lot more focus on just having fun and playing.
I agree. Kia are a perfect example of how powerful play can be. It can bring them together, spark their creativity, and even help them adapt to change. They're living proof that a society can thrive on cooperation, tolerance, and a good dose of fun.
Wow, that's a powerful thought. I'm still blown away by that whole idea of Kia using play to create a more equal society. It's just so different from how we usually think about things.
It really is. And what's even cooler is how that playfulness seems to be like baked into their whole life cycle, you know?
You mean their juvenile first thing,
Right.
right? Where the youngsters are basically royalty and the adults just let them get away with anything.
Exactly. It's like Kia society is set up to encourage playing and exploring, especially for the younger ones.
Yeah, it's like they get this extended childhood, this time to just be kids and experiment and learn without all the pressure of strict hierarchy, you know?
And that extended childhood, it might be why they're so adaptable and good at problem solving. They have so much time to develop their skills and figure out how to interact with each other.
It makes you wonder, like, could we learn something from that? What if we gave our kids more freedom to just be kids, to explore and learn at their own pace?
It's a good question, isn't it? Maybe if we encouraged more playfulness and didn't rush them into adult roles, they'd be more creative and adaptable.
You know, it's definitely something to think about. I'm starting to see how all these pieces connect for Kia. The tough environment, their endless curiosity, the whole playfulness thing, and their unique social structure.
Yeah.
It all just fits together.
It's a great example of how nature works, how evolution shapes not just how animals look, but how they act and how they interact.
This deep dive has totally changed how I see Kia. I used to just think they were like mischievous parrots that got into trouble.
Haha, yeah, I get it.
But now I see them as these smart, adaptable creatures that have figured out this amazing way to thrive in a crazy environment.
They really are remarkable. They show us that intelligence can take many forms and that playfulness can be this powerful force for creativity, for social connection, even for survival.
And who knows what else we'll learn about them. The research into that warble call is just getting started, right?
Yeah, we're just scratching the surface of their emotional and social lives.
It's pretty exciting to think about what they might teach us in the future.
Definitely. It also reminds us how important it is to protect them and their habitat, you know?
Absolutely. This has been an incredible journey into the world of Kia, filled with surprises and, honestly, just a renewed sense of wonder for nature.
I agree. It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Likewise. And to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never underestimate the power of play. You never know what amazing discoveries are out there waiting to be found.
Well said.